I would so like, first of all, to thank all of those who are working on the front line in Africa. In Ireland, we may be coming out of some of our worst experience through really the cooperation of the public, really respecting that advice of washing our hands, having an etiquette in relation to sneezing, social distancing. But I know very well that such an advice is going to be so difficult in Africa, where you have overcrowding and the periphery of cities, where clean water isn't available, and where, as well as the idea of social isolating is just simply impossible. And also, of course, the idea that one should stay inside. And if you have a daily economy where one earns the price of one's bread and one's food for the day, it would be really an invitation to starve. We must respond to all of these conditions by realising the particularities of the African situation. And we must do so this time, I think, in a way that will allow African agency, perhaps using African communities to develop the capacities or strengthen the capacities where they are there to deal with their own needs. Isn't this such an illustration too to us of how important basic universal services in health and housing and education are? And if we are to learn from this crisis, it should be that we shift the emphasis from armaments and from the death we are encouraging in the world towards providing universal basic services. I think too this is a great opportunity for Europe. Europe has had a legacy in Africa that it would like to forget, but which Africans have not forgotten. And I think now is an opportunity to make a new beginning, and not only to respond to Covid-19, but also to respond to those structural imbalances that are there. Unfair trade, and then there is, of course, the burden of debt. How can we say that it is right in responding to Covid-19 when some African countries are spending more than 12 times on servicing their debt, as is the case in Angola, than in providing public health? I could go on from one country to another, but unfair trade. Debt cancellation is what we need. It is so totally insufficient to speak of 6 months relief in relation to debt payments. I'm glad that Ireland's unique relationship with the African continent is one of peacekeeping, is one of involvement in education, and we do not have an imperial legacy. And I'm so pleased also that Ireland was the first country to respond to the Secretary-General Guterres' response for a special effort in relation to COVID-19. And we're doing this in a number of different ways. I think Ireland has brought forward this funding to its humanitarian agencies, the NGOs. It has, in addition to that, when you put it all together, and through what we're doing through the Department of Agriculture as well as Foreign Affairs, brought about 46 million into being to help in different ways. But what's important now is that there be flexibility on the ground. There is need for cash on the ground to purchase water in some countries, to purchase fuel for the vehicles in Uganda that will bring people to hospital. It is necessary for that cash to go into flow through the NGOs and to be able to combine, if you like, with the state agencies. We need to be a flexible cooperation on the ground in the interest of the Africans who are our fellow citizens. I do want to say as well that Africa is not a problem or wherever its people. It is the continent of the young. And I think that when we look into the future, it is to Africa we look for new forms of economy and a better relationship between economy and society and ecology and culture. It is in Africa we can achieve equality. We can all benefit for a proper, adequate response to the present situation in Africa, taking account of the special circumstances on the ground now that I have mentioned, shortages of water, overcrowding, the difficulties of isolation, but also committing ourselves to a whole new future for Africa, where 2 billion people will live in 2050, where 17 million young Africans enter the labour force every year. These are sources of hope, and they are sources of renewal, not just for Africa, but for the whole world. I so wish everyone who is working and everyone who will be discussing these issues, I offer them solidarity, but also, as President of Ireland, every support. Bar Bannocht, every blessing.